Joining me now is Oliver Nobetau, who's a 2024 FDC Pacific Fellow at the Lowy Institute. Thank you for your time. Look, it's obviously devastating for Papua New Guinea. We know that the number of fatalities has gone up markedly. What's the reason behind such devastation? Is there a big part of bad luck here? Is it the nature of the housing that was built in the area?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's a really unfortunate time and unfortunate circumstances that we're facing. I think it's a little bit It's difficult to say what is the direct cause of all this. PNG is located in the Pacific Ring of Fire, so it's prone to a lot of natural disasters. And with the nature of how people build their housing around the area, the deforestation that happened, that does contribute a little bit to soil erosion and the consistent heavy rains recently, which is I think all contributed to the landslides.
The situation there is pretty dire. Look, from our information, the New Zealand government and Australian governments are both ready and willing to help straight away, but as is normally the case, they need to know what the Papua New Guinea government needs out of all of this. What's your thoughts on the situation in terms of what help has been made available so far?
Yeah, so what's been reported is that the government has given relief funding of about $500,000 kina to the LLG to help with this relief operations, and they are organising on the ground for some relief responses. At the moment, the resources are a little bit stretched thin. As we've heard, there's going to be a motion of no confidence most likely tomorrow, but also PNG has had around 4 or 5 significant natural disasters within this year alone. So its resources are pretty stretched thin, but there's been an outpouring of support from the United States, from the United Nations, even Australia as well, as a consistent partner to assist with the capabilities to mount a relief operation.
Yeah, well, let's hope that gets there quickly. There's obviously still a desperate search for, well, not so much survivors, I guess, underneath, but maybe other people who might have been displaced they don't know about. And then no confidence motion you mentioned as well. What's the reaction to that? Because on the one hand, you sort of think, well, why do that now? But it's also been brewing for a long time, and even government responses to things such as this have contributed to it in the eyes of those critical of the government.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's something that was expected during the first Parliament sitting earlier in February this year, but it was not able to sort of get onto the floor of Parliament, so they were hoping for the second sitting from what's being heard. And there were significant movements that were being made over the weekend with about 26 MPs, including six of those ministers moving from the government to the opposition. So this is something that's not, it has been expected to be coming for a while. So it's not unexpected at this point.
Yeah, and as to it though, how much is this a country in crisis? Because there has been a fuel shortage crisis which has crippled the country at various times, and then also you've got responses to these what's happening right now. Law and order has been a huge one as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot of, and that's really, I think, the justification why a lot of the MPs have been moving and criticising the government for how they've been managing, I guess, the country. We've had issues with law and order, beginning with the unrest at the beginning of the year, and then you've also got the fuel shortages. You've got a foreign exchange shortage as well, which has been crippling a lot of the businesses and hindering economic growth. So there's a lot of issues on the ground that need to be addressed, and I think that's going to be what's going to be on the agenda for Parliament.